Hey guys, and welcome to Stock Talk on October 8th. So I did a video for members already, and I thought I didn't have much time, but apparently I have a little more time, so I'm going to do one for you guys before I have to do other things. So we're not going to get to your tickers today because I am in a little bit of a hurry, but I will tackle the general markets because we have a lot to talk about in terms of the trends, and then I will also tackle commodities for you guys. Okay, so we're going to start with SPY, the S&P 500 on the yearly chart. So in last video, I gave you guys two scenarios, right? The first scenario was looking at the different candles. This was Thursday, this was Friday, and I said, well, what's the probable trajectory for Monday? Well, it was going to be another red candle to the downside. That was the first scenario. Now, at one point during the day, we were starting to form that candle, okay? But we had the bulls in the middle of the day pulling it higher, and hence I gave you guys the second scenario in the last video. What was that second scenario? I said that if we can form a tail candle at the support, a long one that is, and the bulls can manage to push it higher over the support to form some sort of thing I can work with at least, then we might see that bullish reversal back to the upside at least temporarily. Okay, so what did we do today? Here's our support line around 286, right? We came down, bulls managed to pull it up, and we formed that short-term reversal to the upside. Okay, now you might be asking, well, Kevin, how short-term is it? It could, and this is where we get into a very gray ground. Whatever you hear from other people, other forums, it's really a gray area right now. Why? We're seeing two perspectives of things right now, right? Two perspectives. The first perspective is that we're on a downtrend and this was nothing more than a bearish pullback or a reversal back upside before more legs down to come. That's the first scenario. The second scenario is, well, we formed a support, a reversal candle to support before we move on to the upside. Taking those two facts hand in hand, you have to look at a couple of things, right? First of all, we talked about the support and that we retested near the support around 286, right? In the past, around 286. And I said in the last video that I didn't want the markets to retest this area because we've already retested it once. It should continue on higher, at the very least making a higher low pattern, right? Higher low pattern. So we came down, and hence we're here. So what can I see in the near future? I'm favoring a short-term bounce. I'm looking at the small caps. I'm looking at NASDAQ, which sold off significantly more than the other indices, such as the Dow and the S&P 500, right? Small caps, it's at support levels. The 200 period moving average support level, that is. NASDAQ, well, we're selling off, but we're not at moving average yet. That's interesting. Spider, right? What are we doing here? We pretty much just started selling off here. So, in my opinion, we really have to take this day by day. If we try to call out a bullish trend or a bearish trend, we're likely just to be splitting hairs 50-50. And this is just my opinion. I really want to give this one day or two more days and let, at the very least, in my opinion, this week to play out. Let me show you guys the 3-year weekly chart of SPY. Right? 3-year weekly chart, you guys can see resistance levels up here. Here, we didn't manage to exceed that previous high, 293.94, before we started breaking down last week. Okay? Now today, well, obviously this candle hasn't fully formed, but by end of Friday's close, we have a more definitive way of saying, okay, which direction are we going, right? But for now, if you just take a look at this chart, you might think, man, this thing's going to head on down a little bit more, right? But in the short term, it might be heading, hence, you guys can see how I'm kind of pointing to both directions. We'll wait and see how it plays out in the next few days. I think that's very critical to watch in the next few days. TVIX or volatility. So volatility, now something interesting happened with volatility was if I take you guys to the let's take you guys. So one thing you guys can see volatility is here is Friday. We closed higher than we opened. Here we opened here and we closed down here. We closed a little lower. So what is that telling us? Well, that's confirming a sort of a signal that we might be in for a short-term bounce back to the upside, right? Which makes sense. So, you know, that's also something I'm watching. Let me take you guys to the 1-year daily chart. And you guys might look at this and like, man, that looks like a rejection signal off of the 50-period moving average. We've done this in the past, right? So what does that mean? Well, if volatility falls, chances are, what do you think the indices are going to do? Well, some of the indices or most of the indices may be in the positive. That's another factor to put in into your own analysis. So that's volatility for you guys. All right. Let's take you guys to some commodities /CL. Now for crude oil, remember that we do have a long-term resistance at 76.50, but I told you guys also that this was a 20-year resistance, right? And that the probable trajectory is, even though we're coming down, we could still hold this support, which we pretty much closed at the support at 74.31, and move higher, because the resistance area for crude oil is a range. It's a 20-year resistance level. It's a range of levels. So it could range, in my opinion, from 76 upwards to 78 or possibly even more. So there you go. That's crude oil. Can it come down? Yes, it can, but I would need a more definitive move in terms of like a weekly close. That would show me, okay, crude oil has that. We don't need to be in my opinion, we don't need to be take the first step, right? I would want to let the markets play out and let it do its thing first. And that's kind of what I'm doing with general markets as well right now, because we are in this gray area. All right, guys, if you guys enjoy these videos, please hit that thumbs up button. As always, I highly appreciate everyone just watching these videos and even talking about it. Appreciate everyone's support. So let's keep it going. /CL. Right now, in my opinion, crude oil still looks pretty bullish. And there could be that next leg higher. Note that crude oil isn't even at the 20-period moving average, right? So, that's something interesting to note. Okay, /NG. And guys, I have a course that's developed. You guys can check out the course in the description box down below, and it shows you all the trends I look at, how to put in technical lines really before they occur. You'd put them in before they occur. You know where stocks or ETFs are gravitating towards. If you can get the trend correct, chances are you can have a better probability of making money in the stock market. So here we go. Here's a support area of natural gas at 3.171. Now, on Friday or Thursday's close, we were in a rather muddy ground, right? Because on Friday's close, we had another red candle. So you guys can imagine these two candles. If you just combine those two candles together, what do you make? Well, just one red candle, right? But at the same time, you kind of have to take this with a grain of salt because we're near the support. Note that this was my support line in the past, 2.991. This is my support line here, 3.164. But once we did close below it, only to what? Pretty much recover all of it back. Here, if we combine this, we closed down, but what happened? Pretty much to recover all of it back. So natural gas continues to be bullish, and the probable trajectory is where? 3.416, right? That would be the resistance area. It doesn't have to hit all the way up there, but just near that area, that would be where I would find natural gas resistance, right? So natural gas continues to look bullish, and this one is pulling up rather dramatically. So very interesting trend. Perhaps a more interesting trend is gold. So here's gold futures. You guys can see how gold futures got rejected once again at the resistance level. And this was at 1210.8. So once again, I'm looking for a definitive push over the resistance level, right? 1211, 1212. Those are my main numbers I'm looking at. So far, we don't have that sign of reversal back higher. So I'm still waiting for gold to see how that pans out in the next few days. But there's not much trade in here, in my opinion. If you guys just look at this chart right now, but that's just my opinion only. So what am I looking for in the markets? I'm more concerned about the S&P 500. I'm more concerned about the various indices and seeing how it will play out on a day by day basis. And this one, we're in the middle ground. For example, I'm gonna give you guys an example. You're like, Kevin, why are you kind of unsure? Aren't you usually sure about one direction or the other? Well, yeah, so most of the time, I'm sure. But if you guys can imagine, when we're down here, right, we were consolidating. We were down here, we were consolidating, right? Down here, consolidating. Okay? Over here, we were consolidating. So you guys can imagine at that point, you could make a case, a bullish case or a bearish case. But you're taking a shot at which direction it will go. Now, of course, you can make an argument if you look at various indices, but in this case, I've already looked at the other indices, and hence I'm favoring a short-term uptrend. For how long, that's more difficult to say. Whether it's just overnight, right? Overnight with the futures, or whether it takes a day or a couple of days. Just need this to play out. I'll be on the sidelines. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching this video, and see you guys tomorrow.